All right. Welcome everyone to Humanity's Destiny. Today we have a little bit of a different class. It will be strictly online from my study at home, and I am in High Park, very close to it actually in Toronto. So you may see some nice sunlight coming through the window. And I thank you for your patience as I begin to get better from this very nasty flu that's been going around. At any rate, I will be back in person next week in the classroom, and probably could have been in person with you today in the classroom, but it's just, I'm still quite contagious, and even with a mask on, I don't want to really risk giving you this thing. So I'm expecting to be in full health next Wednesday, and we'll be back and have a great class together in person. However, we can always have a really good meeting of minds online, and having an online class just like this, where we're little windows, doesn't mean that it has to be boring and remote. In some ways, this is going to be even more intense and more interactive than our classes in the classroom. So I want you to get ready for this. Okay. And it's great to see Elizabeth also joining us. I see she's sharing her video as well, unmuted. Excellent. Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you for a quick review soon in terms of the discussion that you had in the global classroom last week with a few people, right? I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about how that went.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I'm really thrilled to hear that you would, with others on your own, go to the room and have a discussion. That really indicates to me how important having in-person opportunities um, remains. And so we will get to that. But at any rate, what we're going to do today, first, in terms of the content, is we're going to continue to look at this idea of the next big thing. And we haven't really explored it yet in its sort of broadest kind of perspective and what it means. But what I did do last week, by posting the material about Tim Berners-Lee, the um, essentially creator of the World Wide Web, the idea essentially of getting content onto the internet in the way that we have it now, as in websites and HTML links. That was the creation of a single person that came out of his imagination. And this, perhaps, is one of the most remarkable examples of the next big thing, the story of how the World Wide Web was created. But this raises some very important questions and concerns. And so, what I want you to be able to get ready for is that what we're going to do today is we're going to define more clearly what the next big thing means and why this is such an important topic in our course, Humanity's Destiny. We're going to spend another class on this. Now, most importantly, is that we have an example in history, in recent history. Hi, Ron. Good to see you.
Neighbor.
We have, oh, look at that. There we, outstanding, guys. Wow, are you so motivated? Ron, so you're there in the classroom? Yeah, it's open. Is that Ryan as well? Good. Yep. Great, Ryan. And Ryan, I will be back on
It's
Friday, and I can
it's me.
join your
It's
show
me.
as
You're gonna be
well.
there?
Okay. So you can plan for that for sure. Okay. Excellent. Great. So Ron's there in the room. And by the way, if anybody is in that building right now and wants to go join Ron, in the global classroom. Go ahead. It's open, except I'm not there. But excuse me. Oh man, I don't want to cough through this. So let me just finish explaining what today is about, okay? And then I think you're going to find that this remote class that we're having could actually be more intensively interactive than any class we've had so far this semester. But we'll get there, okay? Essentially, there's a question about the creation of the World Wide Web that really needs to be addressed by us today. And what I want everyone to be clear on is that I'm expecting that you will have all reviewed the material from last week and that you will have posted your third discussion post um, about that. And in a moment, I'm going to have Arshdeep read out loud his discussion post about Tim Berners-Lee and the material. And what we're going to do is we're going to look more closely at, well, what happened to the World Wide Web. In other words, the fundamental question that all of you are going to be really thinking about today in terms of humanity's destiny is when there is a next big thing that enters our global connected technological society today, when there is a new big thing that unites us all and changes us, that may seem like a very cool thing when it happens. But 30 or 40 years later, when that big thing becomes embedded in our society and becomes a permanent part of our world, then what happens? And we're going to take a more sober look in some ways today at the idea of technological innovation, the idea of new uh, devices and technologies entering our societies. That may be cool at the beginning, but what happens later? And I think the story of Tim Berners-Lee and what happened with the World Wide Web and the alarm bells that he's been raising about his own creation is a very instructive case study for us of the next big thing and what that really means for society. So I want you to really start to get ready for some deeper thinking about this idea of what happens when there are new technologies and important new developments in our society that we would define as a next big thing, like artificial intelligence, like quantum computing that's coming, quantum computing. Everybody may think this is terrific, all these new technologies, but then what happens later? So that's something we're going to review today. Before we go to Arshdeep and have him read out loud his third discussion post, is there anything any of you would like to say or bring to the class's attention? Please feel free to jump on your microphone today, or raise a digital hand or put it in the live chat, but the best is just jump on your microphone. Please go ahead.
I was thinking that, can you hear me?
Yes,
Well,
is that Elizabeth?
okay. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
was thinking that, yeah, like at some point, pictures were like, if someone took a picture of something, then it must have happened. If it's captured in a picture, then that happened. And then that changed to, oh, now it could have been photoshopped. And now it's like everything can be quote unquote photoshopped. It can be
Yes.
generated by AI. So now it's kind of circling back to um, the only way to prove or to know if something actually happened is if you were in there or if you were there in person. And I wonder if it's going to culturally circle back around to that. Like people won't trust anything unless they saw it for themselves.
Are you suggesting that the thing that we have to see in order to trust it must be a picture? of some sort, or are you talking about the
No,
thing
that
we have
you
to
have
see
to
has
be
to be
at
in
the
person?
actual thing that happened, whatever it is that happens or whatever that goes on. People won't take it as fact if you tell them, unless they were actually there to see it themselves and to experience that themselves. Not even pictures won't help, videos won't help because you don't know if
Yeah.
that's real.
Well, good way to go. I'm controlling what people see. That's excellent.
Oh,
Okay,
cool.
so just yeah, look at that. Okay, Ryan and Ron, and what's some? I forget his name again. Your name again is
Jaden.
Jaden. Good to see you, Jaden.
We are
Okay,
just thinking we had some thoughts about actually what was said too. Hayden.
well,
Yeah, or
Ryan.
me. Yeah.
Uh, First, I want to make sure that Elizabeth's point gets addressed, and then we'll come to you for sure. And then, so Elizabeth, should we let Ryan continue, or is there something you want to
Yeah,
add
sure. No,
to
that was the
this?
extent of my thought.
Okay. And remember, Elizabeth, I would like a report very soon on,
I don't
telling
even
us what.
remember what we talked about last week.
Okay, well, maybe Ron will or Ryan or,
Mm.
but okay, so
Uh,
Ryan, go ahead.
I was just saying that I feel like I could very much relate to that perspective that Elizabeth brought up, where you want to see things in person again, right? Because you can't discern whether this is AI or whether this is fabricated or what the truth actually is. And even if it's not any of those things, like now we also have like people are staging things on social media where like everything's like scripted, like oh, like some interaction you see on the street or whatever, between like individuals, and like half the time it's staged, right? So I feel like for the most part, I would agree with that, that like, and maybe that is one of the most reliable ways that we can do, regardless of the evolution of technology. Kind of go back to, well, seeing is believing, and not to say be close minded to everything, but just be able to confirm it, right? Or see it for yourself, or get some kind of perception of it that is not something that is fed through the media machine, as it were, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's It's excellent what you're saying, Elizabeth. Do you want to add? Because Ryan has given a word to something that's very very important. It's called mediation or mediated through technology, and you think about even what we're doing right now. Okay, having this class, which to me I think is a good example of mediation through technology, but in a way, it's still part of this situation that I think you're maybe putting your finger on, Elizabeth, is how can we trust anything that's mediated through technology now, right?
And one day it's all going to become normalized that nothing on the internet can inherently be trusted. It's already getting there. That's already becoming a normal thought. But one day that'll be the baseline. Like if it's from the internet, then it might not be real.
Yeah,
And yeah, so it's it's interesting to think that maybe one day it'll be the norm that you can only trust things if you were there to see it happen. And as far as you can tell, you didn't see that it was staged or anything, like Ryan was saying. And like,
yeah.
who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't
Well,
really have anything else to add.
but I appreciate what you've both said, because it really does pertain to the larger discussion, and activity, that we're going to have today, and that I'm trying to lead you towards, is to really take this kind of critical thinking and and doubt that you have and apply it to the story of the World Wide Web, um, because there probably has never been any greater big thing that has taken place, certainly in my lifetime. And if any of you were born, in the 1980s or 90s, probably not. You would have remembered the rolling out of the internet and all of the hype,
Mhm.
around the World Wide Web, and what this would mean for democracy and for human connection. And here we have, the creator of it, Tim Berners-Lee, now telling us he's really worried. He feels really let down. He doesn't feel like what he has created in any way is living up to its potential. In fact, it's becoming more degraded over time. And this is really important. So, okay, I want to stop and give Arshdeep a chance to read out loud something he's written because, as it happens, we have some good discussion posts that have been written about last week's beginning of Next Big Thing. So, Arshdeep, are you ready to read it out loud?
Yes, sir, of course.
Okay, way to go. So, everybody, could you please listen to Arshdeep Singh? He's going to read his third discussion post to all of us, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, please go ahead.
Firstly, I'm so sorry because I'm in IT, so there should be some inconvenience voice behind me. So I'm really sorry about that.
Okay, we can hear you.
Um, so my class three discussion board was like having viewed the class three recording and read the recent interview of the Tim Berners-Lee in the Guardians. I find the clash between the nature of people and the systems created by them to be quite impressive. The question I feel we must put up is in case our basic human desire is really to know and to be connected with others, how are we going to be able to rediscover the soul of the web in the commercial system that bases its business upon the vulgarity of the engagement based profit? So the second paragraph is the importance of this question is that it makes us examine the difference between our potential and our present reality. According to our class notes on the big next thing, the knowledge is our destiny, and we are emphatically reminded of that by the statement of our project, which is we want to learn. The interview by Berners-Lee, however, is a more pessimistic one where he describes a web that has been foisted to the grounded by the charlatans and optimized to be spy instead of knowing through the majority of inventors, and we also mostly like feel the necessity to make our ideas work in order to survive. The example of Berners-Lee demonstrates a different way. He is advocating such a thing as a solid force and a son of AI to restore the power to individuals. This is in line with our class discussion of having a bigger understanding of the planet. Unless we find a way to shift the paradigm that has offered us the right to persist with the approach that the market and the economy require money more than a place to connect, we may completely miss the point of the web altogether, and it is up to us to determine whether it is another cash grab or our time has arrived to learn together the next big thing. And I want to one more thing add in this discussion board, which I forgot to mention.
Yes.
Mr. Tim Berners-Lee made the web for the education purpose. I was read it in the article, and after that, it is used for the selfishness and for the other purpose like social media and the political members use it in own way. But basically, the main purpose of the web is to be get the knowledge and for the education purpose.
Yes. Thank thank you very much, Arshdeep, for reading that out loud and having the courage to do that. It's not always so easy to just take your post, which is written quietly and silently, and then actually articulate it in front of everybody. That's a different situation, and it's a much better situation because we can interact with your ideas. So great, Ron, please go ahead.
I'd like to make a brief response in the way of a slight question around what I was able to deduce with Arshdeep's
Yep.
point, which is he described something that immediately fascinated me, which was the soul of the internet or the
Yeah.
soul of the World Wide Web,
Yeah.
and how that's at risk now due to the motives of commercialism and all that. Problems that you could identify with late stage capitalism. But I wonder if there's ever been a soul to it to begin with, or if it's always been the case that it was supposed to evolve into a commercial product or an entity to pushed commercial product forward.
Yes. So you would perhaps ask, has the cash grab, which is a nice simple way of putting it, as Arshdeep put it, was the cash grab always baked into it right from the start? Is that what was motivating? Or and it too is a very good question, Ron, because it really raises for all of us the idea of, why do people invent things? Next big things are all about human invention and technology and engineering, and so that is something we will definitely unpack and try to understand. I'm just curious, Ron, do you think, based on what we know of Tim Berners-Lee and what I presented so far with the Guardian article and the little video that was posted of him at the Olympics, the opening Olympics ceremony in London, um, that he was motivated by a cash grab?
I don't believe he was the individual, but I believe that the technology was allowed to flourish and he was provided the resources to make this technology flourish for commercial reasons. I believe that.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's make sure we keep that point with us at all times, because it's going to be part of humanity's destiny um, going forwards for a long time, which is, what is it that motivates human beings to invent and then to give that idea to the world? It is possible that the human motive or motivation is greater, Ron, than money. That there is something in humans, and I see Ryan is going there. So hold on a second. I just want to make sure I get the discussion board dealt with too. Arshdeep, a way to go. Is there anything you want to add to what you read to us?
The last thing which I said, academic things.
No, in terms of your discussion post 3, is there anything else that you would like to add to it?
I couldn't understand. Could you please repeat, sir?
Yes. I'm just, would you like to add anything now and speak any more about your third discussion post?
Yes, I have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
As Ron said, the commercial thing about, like, I have a point in my mind, like the commercial thing is like, okay, it is not like to a very bad thing if it will be used in the good way, but 2 days when web is used for own purpose, like the politics use it for their own selfishness, and they create anyone's image bad there. And there are so many applications like the TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook where they post anything which the people who follow them believe literally blindly. So my concern is that we should be know about what is wrong and what is good, because we are human, we can judge, but before judge we should be analyze everything, because web is just contain the information right now. Web
Yeah.
is not just provide the information. It's our duty and it's our purpose to know about anything before get to the result. So
Yes.
that's the only thing I want to add in this discussion board.
Good, Arshdeep. Excellent points. And when you came to speak to me last class at the podium with one of the classmates, and you told me also some things there, I was struck by your depth of thought. And once you're able to start articulating yourself well in English, there's a lot
Yes.
that comes out that's good. So you just need to keep working on your spoken English. Okay,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
that,
Thank you, sir.
yeah. Just keep working on it. Ron, go ahead.
Yes, Ron.
It was it was on my behalf. My
Oh,
arm
okay.
was getting tired.
All right,
No,
Ryan,
I
go
was
ahead,
just
Ryan, and then I'll move because I want to read out loud one other discussion post, and then we're gonna move it around. Angelique, I'm sure, has some things to say, and others. So go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to comment on that, which Ron was alluding to at the very beginning of answering that question, which was like the soul of the internet. And I feel like the point that I wanted to make was that it's very evident a lot of the times that, like, even things that human beings innately create are by themselves, by their very nature, flawed. But in a lot of way, everything that nature creates is like a perfect image of creation, right? So like even if you look at like trees, they like you don't need to tell trees, oh, do this, do that. They just know. Same thing with like birds and mammals and everything else. It's in like a natural rhythm. Even something as simple as like rocks and geological formation, right? In the earth, right? So like the formation of crystals, for example, that's another big one. Like the process which creates those is it's self-perpetuating. So in a way, a lot of the things that humans invent are innately flawed because they don't function by themselves. They need to be maintained, or they need to be told what to do, or something like this, right? So they're not really self-sufficient in a lot of ways, and that is what I guess I'm referring to by meaning it's innately flawed, or it's not it's not like us. Yeah, it's not a part of nature.
But Elizabeth, we'll come to your hand momentarily. Just to conclude that thought, Ryan, the fact that you're bringing up the natural world, and you're bringing up how a tree or a rock or crystals, and then the system inside of them. We even have a term now called cybernetics, in which we study the systems inside natural things and also inside man-made or human-made things. It's a great field, but the bigger tension here, everyone, that is going to be bleeding through humanity's destiny and has already started, which is the tension between what nature creates and what humans create. And you all are living, it can't be stressed enough. You're living on the cusp in history when humans are grappling in very great numbers now, whether it's scholars, historians, pundits, students, around, well, what is a human and what is a machine? And should we let the machines, i.e., artificial intelligence, surpass the humans in terms of intelligence? And if they do, then what does that leave for us, the humans? So the conflict between the human creation, the machine, the mechanical world, and the natural world, which was not created by humans, is now coming to a head in the times in which you live. And so, for those of you who find this thought way out there and too big, you have to get real. You have to start thinking about this stuff seriously. And I will help you with that. Okay. So it's great that Ryan is trying to take us there. But okay, hold on. We'll go to Elizabeth, then we'll go to Angelique, and then I want to come to a discussion post written by Jordan Brown. I don't know if you're with us, Jordan, in the live class, but I'll read it out loud anyways. But Elizabeth, please go ahead.
This is somewhat related to what Ron was saying about how Ryan, sorry, everything in nature is sort of perfect. And a lot of people see that as pretty amazing. And I can't remember where I heard it somewhere, but someone was saying how it's technically not that amazing because it's not exactly true. Everything in nature is perfect because those things that aren't perfect don't survive, like they die. If something's born with missing one of its legs, it's probably going to die out soon, but it's still born, it still exists. And then the only reason that the stuff humans create still survives, even when it's not perfect, is because we put in the effort to keep it alive, so to speak. And actually, that technically applies to actual physical human beings. There's, of course, a lot of people with disabilities where if we were living way back, caveman era, then their chances of survival would be lower. But because now we have made things that make life possible and even easy, or not easy, but
better,
livable.
maybe more efficient,
yes,
or
better,
easier.
more efficient.
Yeah, more efficient.
Then that just because you're born without a leg, to use the same example, that doesn't mean you'll have a shorter lifespan. Even you could live the same amount of time as another person. And then same goes with anything we make. even though it's not perfect, even though it doesn't necessarily work very well with this or that, or this problem comes up, it still exists because we're there to maintain it. And yeah, but if we were to let it go to the natural order of things, it probably would
Wither
die
away,
off sooner or
or
later. Yeah, just
well,
go into disuse and never come out of it. But yeah, that was my thought.
well, Elizabeth, if you want to do some more reading on this, which you may have already started to, you must be reading Charles Darwin, Origin of Species, who is the person who gave us the theory of evolution through natural selection, as well as Alfred Russel Wallace, who's the other biologist who also gave us this idea that in nature, when things can't survive, they go extinct. And it is true. It's a scientific fact that of all the life on Earth that has existed for around 3 billion years, going all the way back to the first little particles of life, the amoeba, and the little cells that were created, 98 to 99%, Elizabeth, of the things that have been on Earth have died out. They went extinct. But humans, yeah, we may have the secret sauce, the way of how to keep going in spite of what nature is saying. But that's big stuff. And I would highly recommend you read about evolution because your mind is ready for it, Elizabeth. It's great. Okay. I'm going to go, unless you want to say anything else, Elizabeth. Angelique, is there something
Yeah.
you want to, you're good? Yeah. Angelique, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say eventually we'll probably learn to adapt with this new technology because, like I said, I don't think it's worth fighting for sometimes because evolution will eventually evolve and then things are always changing. Like I can still reminisce about the good old days in my discussion post when I was in like grade 9 high school. The teacher was actually, I think it was like something learning about the internet and then like how to use it and what it means. And then
Yes.
one of the questions was, what does www mean? I remember this question. And then some people actually didn't know about what it meant. And
Yeah.
that's, you can always reminisce about the past and about how good things were back then. But I guess it's better to see it as a positive to have evolution growing eventually. And it's a little bit scary for our younger generation to have all this technology at such a young age because they are kind of growing up in a way without recreation, like getting their information from a computer as opposed to like a friend or a colleague or a parent
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different, but eventually we just kind of learn to adapt and just accept the new change.
Yes.
But I think this is why we're actually pushing in my department of recreation therapy, why we're actually pushing for recreational therapy to be as big as it is, because with all this new technology, there's less recreation. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are trying to fight. We are trying to fight, saying we are important. We are here. You do need us.
Yes.
And yeah, and
A great
it's kind
point.
of like that too.
And the recreation you're talking about, of course, is in person. It's
Yeah,
humans doing things with humans,
yeah.
and for example, but
Mhm,
think about today. As much as I want to be in person with all of you, and I know that the educational experience will be much better when we are
mhm,
in person. Um, because of my physical condition today, I've fallen back on using a remote technology to help
mhm,
us, and it's not bad, right?
mhm,
I mean, our minds are being engaged, and it's not perfect, but at least we are able to
mhm,
move things forwards in some way. So the
mhm,
technology is not all bad. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to. Okay, it's
And
how
then
you use it. Yeah.
And then another thing I just wanted to quickly mention was like even for the education nowadays, where I applied for a job over at the college, and then they kind of like I went under the student jobs under a bursary, and they don't actually give you a job, like you apply for it, then they pick a job for you. And then mine was tutoring. Then I was just like, well, I'm not good in biology. I'm not good in writing. I'm like an outdoorsy person, where I kind of thought, well, what can I teach? Kind of that's outside recreation, because it's kind of a lot of what I did. But I think the big part of that was just the one-on-one experience. And then you could get help from the internet, having better information than what I do
Yeah.
to, and then so I can get information from them. But the biggest benefit would actually just be that in-person one-on-one interaction with another person, because learning everything online without that interaction
Yeah.
with another human is just nothing. Kind
Yeah.
of you're getting
Well,
information, but like you're
Sure.
not getting that fulfilling life experience, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so all of this is great in the way that the students now, you, Angelique, Elizabeth, Ron, Jaden, and always is Ryan, with his voice of wisdom and curiosity and real endless interest in the big human questions. There's
Mhm.
his mind is naturally suited to this, and and we're able to um, engage around. I hope you all see things that may seem very big, but they really do matter to your lives
Mhm.
today. And um, I'm hoping that um, for those of you as well who are with us today, and I see Carson, Georgia, Haneen, Harishka, Jackson, Rohan, Sari, Sia, Trinity, Ubraj. There's a lot of others who are in our solar system today. They're in the class. I just want to make sure that we're not doing something that Tim Berners-Lee has identified. He has identified that the World Wide Web has been drifting towards a kind of sad sort of state. And
Mhm.
we can look at that more closely. In terms of our class today, I started with the expectation that we were going to use the technology and we would be connected well, as long as I can hold it together with all of you. I'm worried, though, that there are students who may be drifting
Mhm.
right now. And even though they're in the class, they aren't really in the class. And so I may be wrong, but I'm using this as a textbook example of how technology does require some work in order for
Mhm.
it to work really well. So you have to make an effort. And I just want to check right now. Um, Trinity, Ubraj, excellent. Sia, Sari, Rohan, Jackson. Um, can I assume you're there? Your brains are with us? I just want to make sure, okay? Because this is one of the very difficult things with technology today is that it's remote and people can drift into silence. And this is not good. Okay, so excellent. Okay. So now here's the 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 next thing I want to do is there any question that any of you have, Yubraj, Haneen, Harishka, any of you that you would like to know at this point? You're free to jump on your microphone, put it in the live chat. Otherwise, I'll move on. But at least I know you're with us. Okay, that the solar system is alive. All right. Now, I'm going to move to another discussion post for all of you because this one, written by Jordan Brown, really raises a big question, too, that we haven't really addressed around the next big thing. And then we're going to start to look more at Tim Berners-Lee. Ron, please go ahead.
It's Ryan again. I'm
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
filling
Oh,
in right
yeah.
now. I'm filling in. So it's kind of all three of us on
Yeah.
together. But I was just gonna make a point about what Angelique was saying earlier about technology, and I kind of had 2 points on that. One, which was that I feel like I think it related to the evolution of man in terms of like what was the old world is not going to be the new world. Like what went on in the 90s before we were alive, all the good music, that's not something we can experience in this generation because we weren't alive to experience it, right? But we can like learn things obviously that maybe you can incorporate into the future. But I think the point there was that almost it's important to kind of like grieve or let some of these things die in a sense,
Hmm.
because not I feel like not die as in like they go away permanently, but you're prepared to release them to see what could come back, right? Almost like the concept of rebirth. If you don't let go of what was, nothing can be, right? Me and Ron were actually having a discussion that kind of focused around this concept of letting what needs to die die just recently, so that you can move forward with life. You even see this a lot in like things like psychology or people who go to therapy, is that it's all about releasing that which has happened so you can move on with your life, right?
Yes.
So I feel like that is pivotal. We tend as human beings who live in a physical world to always look at death as something that's like finality and end, and just like something that is bleak, but it's
Yes.
really not. It's something that is transformational, and it's necessary for a new aspect of growth, right? um and it's interesting that when we get up, it's always called in the morning. Morning also means
Sure.
experiencing that which has died, right?
Yes. Yes.
And which what has died is the last day, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was just going to say was just a little personal note about AI. And
Yes.
from my experience, some of the things like I would use it for is if I say, for example, my dad, he actually teaches history, for example. So sometimes if I wanna know some historical facts, I'll ask him, just like when we're around each other.
Yes.
But the other times I'll ask AI if I really want to go like in deep to the subject, because
Hmm.
sometimes he'll say he doesn't know, or he'll actually tell me you should search it up because I like what I could tell you is like very limited, right? So it's kind of that perspective now of like, yeah, AI is maybe not the end all and be all, but it's a good resource tool, especially if you're just kind of curious about the subject, like you're
Yes.
not going in depth. Maybe you just want to know what the 50s were like or something like that, right? You can kind of use it for like a quick research tool.
Sure.
Obviously not something that you're going to base your entire documentation on or research or whatever. But I just wanted to say that those
Yeah.
my experience.
Uh, Excellent. Oops. What did I just do? Let me come back to this. Yeah. Let me just before I go to Jordan Brown's um, discussion post number 3, I want to just say about what Ryan has just helped us to kind of to look at, and he's which is that when we talk about the next big thing, which we generally define as some sort of development, often from science or technology, very often from technology, that is going to change our lives in a quite fundamental way in how we go about our lives, in the way that the automobile was compared to when we used to get around and on horses or by our feet. Whether movies, radio, television, airplanes, all of these technological developments through the 20th century, and then of course the internet, the World Wide Web. Well, these are all technological game-changing inventions, and we are living literally through another next big thing that is happening as we live, and it's called artificial intelligence. And I think that it's really important for me to just identify for all of you. We don't have to talk about it right now, there are bigger points I want to make today. But the fact is that 15 years ago, or even 10, artificial intelligence was not part of our daily lives until ChatGPT came along and Sam Altman and OpenAI came along, and the algorithms were created that allowed humans to interact with a an artificial um, um, program that makes us feel like we're talking to a person, but we're not.
Mhm.
This is this is the grand illusion that we're living through right now, which everybody is trying to grapple with, is that you can go online and you can talk to a machine and it will give you all this information and you feel almost like you really are talking to a human. That's part of the design, and Sam Altman and all the engineers, they know that. They know that they want to sustain that feeling that you really are talking. But this is a big thing for
Matrix
humanity.
within the Matrix.
What's that, Ryan?
Matrix within the Matrix.
Matrix within the Matrix. Yes, exactly. And so let me come back to the bigger question this all brings us to. It's so exciting and interesting to talk about new big things, just the way it is to talk about the technology behind um, artificial intelligence, just the way it is to talk about the technology behind how Jeffrey Hansen, the Canadian astronaut, is going to be orbiting around the moon as soon as he launches in March. We can talk about flying cars or flying taxis and self-driving cars. All of this is tech talk. It's all fun. The question though is, well, what do we stand to gain? What does humanity stand to gain from all of these things? And this is what Jordan Brown has put his finger on a little bit in his discussion post. And what we have to return to with Tim Berners-Lee is, here we are 40 years or so into the World Wide Web. And here we have the creator of it not celebrating his invention, but worried deeply about what we've done with it. This is a important lesson that we have to address. But anyways, I want to come back to Jordan Brown. And Jordan, are you with us? Let's see. I think you're just going to be asynchronous. So I'm going to read this out loud for now, and I will say to you, Jordan, I'll look into the camera here. Way to go. Well done. And it's too bad you're not with us this week, but you have been in previous weeks. You're doing some good, deep thinking, okay? Here we go. Here's what Jordan wrote in his third discussion post. Question. The video focuses and talks a lot about the next big thing and constant progress. But what is the point of progress just for progress's sake? Do humans need nonstop innovation? Or is there a point where we should pause and fully understand the impact of what we've already created before moving on? That's his question. Very interesting. And the word he's bringing to this, guys, that we all have to think about is progress. Okay? Progress. This question matters because we have already seen how major technological advances can change society faster than people can really adapt to them. The internet is the first thing that comes to mind. It completely changed how we communicate, work, and live in a very short time. It obviously has a lot of positives, like easy access to information and constant connection. It also created pretty major issues like misinformation, deeper social division, and an obsession with comparing lives with ultra catered, ultra photoshopped influencers. It shows that just because technology moves forwards, it does not mean society or ethics automatically move forward with it. Technology keeps progressing, but humans do not change at the same pace. Our psychology, values, and social systems take much longer to figure out how to adjust. When innovation moves too fast, we end up reacting to problems instead of making thoughtful choices ahead of time. It seems like if we're always chasing the next breakthrough, it stops us from fully understanding the long-term effects of what we already have. If humanity's future is supposed to involve things like compassion, cooperation, and overall well-being, then progress should be about more than speed or newness. This doesn't mean rejecting innovation completely. It means slowing down enough to reflect, set limits, and ask whether new technologies actually improve life instead of just pushing forward because we can.
Mhm.
Jordan, I thought that was really well done. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Let's hear what some of your classmates have to say and how that resonates with them. Okay, in terms of this idea of the next big thing, does anybody want to comment on this discussion post that I just read out loud to you, or do you feel like we've already covered these points? Go ahead, just jump on the
Sure.
microphone.
Just a quick comment
Yeah, sure.
on. I'm kind of forgetting about. I was going to say something about optimization. Oh yeah, how we keep on using measures of progress as our markers are things like the next big thing instead of things like optimization. And when I say optimization, I mean what Jordan was saying in terms of now that we have this thing, instead of immediately going over and looking for the next thing, um, we should instead optimize how our current situation um, is functioning and how
Yes.
we adapt to it and adapt to it well in a way that is positive for the most part. Um, and how that optimization, there aren't really any common measures of progress for that. It's not seen as progress really, and that was the extent of my thought.
Good.
But that kind of sucks.
No, did you say that kind of sucks? It didn't suck, Elizabeth. It just needs some more thought to it. But you're starting. You've put the skates on. You just haven't tied them yet, and you're not on the ice. But you're sitting on the bench, waiting to get on the ice. Okay, Ron, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry for being away for a little bit, but that didn't suck. I think that optimization has been integral to a lot of the innovations we've seen in our history. So I mean, you can certainly relate the creation of the internet towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose you'd have to concern yourself with optimization around which issue, like financial optimization, optimization towards research optimization towards digesting media or entertainment. Um,
Let's
you know,
say optimization towards the overall well-being and like health of human beings,
okay,
which is way harder to track. But
it is. And it's also subjective because it also depends on how
yeah.
that technology, that medium is being used towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea of of human progress has been explored very well by a person I'd like to introduce you all to. And if you're interested in doing some supplementary reading, I highly recommend a book called A Short History of Progress by Ronald Wright. And he is a historian, a social critic who gave a series of what are called the Massey Lectures. Every year, the CBC actually presents on radio a series of lectures from an important thinker, and Ronald Wright was chosen for that several years ago to present his thoughts on human progress. And here's what he said, very, very briefly. I will tell you this, and then I highly recommend his book, A Short History of Progress. It's not that long. I'm going to give you a thought that probably you've never heard before. Maybe you have, that would be great, but likely you haven't. And what he said was 10,000 years ago, when humans began to form their first communities, when they came out of the wild, the wilderness, into the metropolis, into settled cities, when they began to create civilization. It began about 10,000 years ago. There's a long story about how that happened through agriculture and food production. However, he said that humans embarked on a grand experiment when they began human civilization that they thought would lead to a lot of progress. And his idea was that civilization and what we're living through right now is an experiment. It could go either way. In fact, it may end badly. It may end well. It may get better. We have no idea. It's only the humans and what they do, the decisions they make, that will tell us. We've learned there are no gods. There is no God. Now, this is a hard thing for people to listen to. Those who are religious, this is just one perspective I'm giving you. But what we've learned, he said, is that science and technology have brought us so much. But what really have they brought us? Have they made us any better? Have they increased human connection? Have they made humanity better? Is there more war, less war, more peace? Is there more violence, less violence, the same? Do we love each other more, less?
Mhm.
Do we care about each other more? Or do we just create new things and keep calling that progress? So he said it's an experiment, and it's up to us to think about how we used all these new tools and technologies in a way that's going to elevate us, take us further. But it requires a new definition of progress, he said. He said, humans don't really understand that technological progress without moral, spiritual, ethical, and social progress is just more machines. Who wants that? That's a cold, mechanical world, not a human world.
Mhm.
At any rate, these are his thoughts, short history of progress. His view is we have to be careful. We may not be getting the progress we want. So, okay, Ron, please go ahead. Or Ryan.
I mean, like, I ran the idea by Ron, though. He said, and I
just
quote, "I
comes
don't have
from
as
you.
much to contribute to this as
don't.
I do." I there's a whole like kind of conspiracy vibe behind some of this technology stuff, and that's the way I originally proposed the inquiry to Ron. But it does relate to a lot of what you were saying about technology and machinery and being a very cold world. It actually is probably the whole center of this. And basically, it's all of this kind of technology and kind of this merging of man and machine and the outsourcing of man's consciousness to machinery. And basically, that we become more materialistic. And the more we do so, the more we're cut off from spirituality, the more we're cut off by, just like you talked about, like our principles, the thing that guides us. And it's very much based around that which is tangible. And the thing with that is that there's no aspect of imagination. What was it? Einstein said something to the effect of the man who cannot imagine anymore. His eyes are dim, or his eyes are dim and dead, or something like that.
Something like
to
that. I
that
can't
effect.
give you the, but
Yeah.
even Albert Einstein, one of course our most iconic and famed scientists who believe so much in the scientific method, did say that the human imagination is the most important thing. That science does, of course, provide evidence and proof, but if you can't imagine firsthand, you need imagination. And he even talked about how as a teenager, he would at 16, 17 years old, he'd be thinking about what would it be like to ride in a photon of light. He was already in his mind thinking about a photon of light, which is the fastest moving thing in the universe. It moves at 250,000 kilometers per second. Just you can't get your mind. And he was already imagining,
Faster
this
than that
idea.
line. Even I think it's 792 kilometers per
Okay.
second.
Well, I may stand corrected.
Seven times around the planet in 1
That's right.
second.
That's right. Everybody, get your mind around that if you can. And if you can't, it's a failure of your imagination. A thing going around the planet 7 times in 1 second. It's real. And if you can't get that in your head and you feel sick to your stomach as you're trying to think about it, it means your mind is kind of small. You need to grow. You need to open that mind to cosmic scale. At any rate, let's keep focused about today's class, which is Tim Berners-Lee, the next big thing, and the story that he's trying to help us understand. And then we're going to conclude, okay? And see how long my voice can take. So we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, let me check in with everybody. Does anybody feel like we're missing something in today's class? That something's not making sense, or that you don't feel you understand what we're doing? Or do you have a question? Cosmos, out there. Sari, Gibson, Planet SG. Hold on, Angelique. I'm going to go to the Cosmos, the quiet Cosmos, and see, and then we'll come back. Sari, are you alive on Planet SG? Yes. Okay. Planet SG, Sari, are you able to speak to us on your microphone, or would you rather stay in the live chat? What's your preference? I don't want to put any pressure. Live chat?
Mm.
Okay. Sari, please go ahead at any time and enter anything that you feel you want to know or need to know. And we're going to continue the discussion and we will come back to you. And if I don't see anything in the live chat from you, I'll just assume that everything's okay. All right. But I just want to make sure that our quiet, distant solar system out there right now, Planet A, CNEL, GHSH, JKR, SGSAT, and YT, that you're all okay. You're safe out there, because we can organize a rescue mission if you need. Okay. Okay. So you're safe. Good. Angelique, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, with me going online and like asking for extra shifts like through the college, um it was like that option of applying for work, and then they gave me the shift of they gave me a job, like they assigned me a job of the tutor job. And then I guess it was Tim's idea of like having some knowledge, but you need a little bit more kind of thing, right? From
Mm-hmm.
different sources. So I think this was actually a good example of what his vision was being delivered in person from a person, and then just getting a little extra from around the world, but not entirely doing it for you kind of thing, right?
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to come back to Tim Berners-Lee right
Yeah.
now, and to really, as we kind of come towards more the conclusion of our discussion today, I it's important that we produce some takeaway, some
Mhm.
critical takeaway for all of us. And that takeaway, normally, I like it to be in the notes that we make together in the global classroom, and we'll do that next week. But let's try and get some critical takeaway into the live chat as notes that can then be saved and will be accessible for everybody, synchronous and asynchronous in this class. So let me just go here, and I'm going to put in a question. What is today's takeaway? Okay. This is a big question, but what I'd like you all to do now, which is those who are unmuted with their video and audio, Elizabeth, Angelique, Ron, as well as those who are all muted, we're now going to move all of the ideas onto the live chat right now and have a good record. Okay, this is our summation for today. Now, I know that I could easily just say to Elizabeth, for example, Elizabeth, just start writing, because Elizabeth, from what I've seen so far of your discussion posts, you have a little bit of a gift, and maybe more than a gift, for being able to write um, the way you sound, and it comes off really well. You can write in a conversational way, but it's tightly edited, and it's great. So just go for it, okay? And as you write in the takeaway, just start putting your thoughts there. What I would recommend is that you do this on a separate document first, or whatever, before you cut and paste it into the live chat, because I want to give you a chance to edit what you write. Okay, because you're better when you're more rigorous with your editing. Okay, but you once you start editing, your voice gets even better, I've noticed. Okay, so Elizabeth, go ahead and start putting what you think is today's takeaway. Now, for the others, Ron and Arshdeep and others, start as well, putting your thoughts in today. But I want you to think about the story of Tim Berners-Lee. I want you to think about the whole discussion that we've had, where we've roamed far and wide, but now we're coming back to this person where it all began. This person who had this idea, 40 years ago or so, when he was working as a computer scientist at a laboratory in Switzerland. That laboratory is one of the most important laboratories in the world. It's called the Center for Nuclear Research, and it's where scientists come from around the world to recreate the conditions of the Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago, and to try and understand the beginnings of the universe. And it was Tim Berners-Lee's idea when he was there that he needed a way for these scientists to talk to each other at this laboratory. And that began the idea of websites, of HTML that eventually broke out of that laboratory, and he then began to introduce it to the rest of the world. So he had a big idea and a big vision. But what happened? What happened to the World Wide Web? That's what today's takeaway is. This great new big thing. Tim Berners-Lee created the world's first website. That's what he did. And in that website or web page, the first web page, he created hypertext, HTML, that allowed him to link to other things. Like all that you do now on your web pages started with his vision.
Mhm.
But where is the World Wide Web now? Is it a good thing? Or have we lost our way with it? That's what I'd like you to think about in today's takeaway.
Mhm.
If it's lost its way, how? Go to the Guardian article. You have Tim Berners-Lee laying out as best he can why he thinks it's lost its way. And I have to tell you something. This is not the first time that we have had a brilliant inventor or computer scientist begin to regret what he invented. Do you know who else has been doing that lately? Geoffrey Hinton at the University of Toronto. He won the Nobel Prize as being the person who created artificial intelligence, the first algorithms. Yes, he's just down the 401, the QEW, University of Toronto. His name's Geoffrey Hinton. He won the Nobel Prize. And do you know what he does now? He speaks out to anyone he can saying, beware, beware of what's happening to artificial intelligence. This is not what I created it for. We can even go back further in history. You know the movie about Robert Oppenheimer, the physicist who created the atomic bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki in Japan that ended the Second World War. Well, he did the same thing at the end of his life. He went everywhere he could to tell people, I'm not sure I should have invented this in the first place. I'm not sure humanity was ever ready for this. I'm not sure that human beings are mature enough and grown up enough to be able to handle this stuff.
Mhm.
So, Trinity, that was the name of the project where Robert Oppenheimer worked. You know that in Los Alamos in New Mexico? The Trinity Project. That was the project to create the atomic bomb. The Trinity Project. It's true, Trinity. Trinity, go ahead and tell us what is today's takeaway. Yubraj, Sia, Sari, this is a moment of truth. I get to see. Have you been thinking? I know Elizabeth is because I can see she's writing. That's great. And the more you edit what you write, Elizabeth, the better it gets. But you have a natural ability.
I actually barely edit anything I write. It's usually just
Really?
grammatical stuff.
It comes out, then just do what you do, okay? But it comes out, it's clean, it's good. Okay. Yeah, putting something too powerful in young hands. Angelique,
Mhm.
it's quite wise.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, there's a story I can tell you that can speak to this, but it will help you to understand. A few years ago, there was a police officer in Toronto
Mhm.
who was called to the scene of a very scary situation where there was a young man who was starting to stab people on a streetcar. in Toronto.
Mm.
And when the officer, got to the scene along with others and came to the front door, and the driver of the streetcar opened the door for him, the person who was obviously mentally disturbed was standing at the top of the stairs holding this knife that he'd threatened others with, and I believe he may have even stabbed some people. So it was a very serious situation. But at that moment, Angelique, the officer who was armed with a very powerful weapon had a choice. Would he talk to that person and try to understand what was driving that person to do what he did and calm him down? Had he been trained to deal with mentally ill, complex situations? Not really. As soon as that young man, who was quite far from the officer, moved his hand, he was shot and killed. Now, the question you would have to ask is, did that officer really know how to use his powerful weapon? Did he default to this very powerful machine to solve the problem because he didn't really know how to handle the situation? I would say maybe. And I think that this is what we're being warned today, Angelique, by the inventors of some of these most powerful technologies today, is they're telling us, beware. These things can do much good for humanity. But yes, as you said, Angelique, if these tools are put into young hands, children's hands, it will be dangerous. Go ahead.
Well, like one comment was the why the police were given these weapons was actually to preserve life. But my opinion, which is actually was in the assignment, was what I would like to see humanity in the future was having more of an understanding towards others, like even developing good communication skills as children as a requirement, almost kind of like, so you kind of don't have to come across some of these situations that are happening. And AI, and it's also kind of like AI was also put in the hands of people who actually want to cause harm and destruction, and they actually put it in a negative tone where it sounds like it's positive, but they are actually want it to be negative. But to avoid that kind of situation entirely is to actually like be compassionate and understand someone's story and understand their boundaries. And then that situation of the police officer and the streetcar was kind of a reaction response of, this is what I've been trying to do. This person is hurting somebody, and I have this weapon to protect others.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but they also should do it in a way that doesn't kill them, but come up with another solution that doesn't actually like permanently damage someone.
Yeah. And
Kind of, or so if AI can develop something like that, I guess if like it's
yes.
possible, if that's possible, is to because the main goal of a police officer is to actually preserve life. And
Yes.
if they have to, make a decision to hurt someone permanently to provide help for somebody else, it's kind of a trade-off. But I've always been on the side of compassion and love and care and nourishment. And sometimes it gets too far that the damage control is just wildly out of control. You just can't even control that person anymore. but it's why it should be kind of a requirement for everybody to go through some kind of recreational therapy program. I think.
Yeah.
I think so, to actually even
Excuse me.
understand
Yeah.
the steps, even to understand the steps of knowing yourself, and then not having that feeling of wanting to hurt somebody else. That's what I would like to see humanity is getting to that point of not wanting to hurt people, not breaking the law, and then even to the police to be on the side of not actually hurting people, but
Yeah.
more so on the side of just being a guidepost of not the person that's actually like really authoritative and listen to me, not that type of person, but more so
Yes.
yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Let me stop you for a sec. Yeah, absolutely. I just want it because I'm checking and I'm conscious of time, but
Yeah.
there's some good thoughts there in terms of what we need to be doing more of, or what we need to be getting better at. And I just before we conclude, and I checked the live chat and everything, I just want to remind you again of a very, very important question that we've kind of come to at the end of today's discussion, that has been all about the next big thing, all about Tim Berners-Lee, and all about when important new, largely technological, big things come to humanity. We have to think about what the long-term impact might be. And all of this comes down to something quite simple. And I highly recommend a book, if any of you would like to look more deeply into it, by Yuval Noah Harari, called Homo Deus, in which a brief history of tomorrow. And I could take a more critical look at the book, but in general, it's got some very important ideas for all of you to think about. And essentially, what he writes about and others are trying to tell us, whether it's Robert Oppenheimer, Geoffrey Hinton, whether it is Tim Berners-Lee, or the inventor of the next big thing. What they're telling us is that humanity increasingly is creating things that give us a lot of power
Mm-hmm.
on a large scale, on a planet-wide scale. And in that power that we create, we're creating new responsibilities, new ethical questions. When we can connect everybody the way we do with the World Wide Web, when we can allow information to flow the way information does now, that could be a good thing, absolutely, but it also can present opportunities for what we might call the bad actors, the people who are interested only in other things that have to do with money, have to do with power, have to do with exploitation and cruelty, and they could abuse that. If we have artificial intelligence that has been created that's supposed to augment our lives, as Geoffrey Hinton imagined when he created the algorithms and is a computer scientist, well, now here we are dealing with the fact that artificial intelligence has now so poisoned, in some ways, social media and deep fakes and the idea of what's real and what isn't. And so now it's possible to create through artificial intelligence a completely artificial reality that looks real to so many people that we humans start to get very confused about what's happening around us, and even more open to being manipulated by those who create the AIs in the first place, like the Elon Musks and like the Sam Altmans and like the others. And so our destiny, humanity's destiny,
Your destiny's Jessica.
is ultimately going to be about creating greater and greater and greater power for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to stop. Will we know what to do with those powerful things? That is your question, my question,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's question. Okay, so Arshdeep is there now. Finally, Elizabeth, are you going to be cutting and pasting anything in, do you think?
Yeah, I'll do that in a second.
Well, here's
I
what I'm
don't
going to
actually have
suggest.
much written down. I have
No, I
some.
want to give you all a chance. I'm going to say this, okay? Here's how I will do the participation marks today. Everybody will get 5 out of 5 if they take what they wrote in their answer to this question. So Trinity would cut and paste hers, Arshdeep, you cut and paste yours into the discussion board. Number 3, that will be your discussion post. It doesn't need to be 225 or 250 words. It needs to be as long as what you've entered into the live chat. Do that and you will get your 5 out of 5. Okay? Does that sound fair?
Mhm.
That way everybody will
Actually, I'm
have.
not very good with typing. So can I just like put it in a discussion post as is without having to put it in the chat, I guess? Because I'm not very good at technology of cutting and pasting and
Okay,
everything.
well, Angelique, I'm going to suggest that you get some help because you need to get better at this. Do you want?
But
Do you want to?
I don't like technology and I don't want to be better.
Well, you
Aren't we just talking about
better.
adapting?
Exactly, Angelique. You got to. I would suggest that you let one of the students help you in this
Uh,
class because this is holding you back. This is going to hold you
uh.
back.
So what
So,
was the question that you want us to answer that I
well,
have to type
whatever
into
you.
the chat?
So Elizabeth, you can put what you're writing. You can just put that straight into the discussion board number 4 when it's
Okay.
ready. Okay, I'll have that ready later today. Arshdeep,
Oh, then I can make it longer.
yeah, you can make it exactly. You can make it as long as you want. For now, as long as it's not more than 250 words. Okay, just
Okay.
cut it off there. All right. And you,
Yes,
Raj,
Professor.
Trinity, Harshika, Georgia, everybody, please put your final remarks from the live chat into the discussion board number 4. I will be posting that board in the next couple of hours. Okay, that's how you get your 5 out of 5. Does everybody understand? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, for those who are asynchronous, they will have to do what they normally do, which is the question and an answer. Okay, so we're going to come to conclusion. Ayman, please go ahead. I see your hand, Ayman.
Oh yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think you asked a question earlier. I forgot what you asked. Can you repeat that question?
Okay, the
It was
question
about like.
is, here's the question. Go into the live chat and you'll see what is today's takeaway.
Oh yeah, no, like I think you mentioned like another question. After that, it was like I think it was about the technology or something.
Okay, well, now I can't remember. I'm sorry. It would be, the question would be, the fundamental question is, do we, humanity, understand how to use our growing technological powers?
Okay, thank you
That's
very
a
much.
that's a very important question for our future. The next big things will all be about more and more tech. It's coming. So what?
Okay.
What's that going to mean? Do we know what to do with these things, or will they end up like the World Wide Web, just getting more and more messed up?
Okay. Yeah, I think I need to think.
Does that, do you feel you
Oh yes.
understand?
Oh yes, I understand.
Okay, great. So answer that as best you can in the discussion board 4, and maximum 250 words. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ron or Ryan, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I think these guys had a question, and then I just wanted to talk to you at the end.
All right,
Jaden,
so
or Jaden?
I actually missed the discussion post 3. I understand if you won't let me do it like right now, but like if I had it, would you be fine if I had it in by tonight?
That's fine, as long as, just so you know, every student in the semester is allowed 1 extension for whether it's a discussion post or an assignment. So this could be your extension this semester. Okay, Jaden? but just keep in mind that for future discussion posts and for your first, second, and third assignments, you won't be permitted an extension.
Okay, I understand. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, good. So Jaden will come. Problem.
I just wanted to talk to him about, at the end, I wanted to talk to you about just what we're going to do for Friday before you cut off the stream.
Yeah, Ryan, can I, let's talk tomorrow, okay? Just because I've got a few things I've got to take care of, some health stuff.
Is it okay if we just like talk like for like, I don't know, 2 minutes at the end of the stream? Just so like.
Okay,
Friday?
2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes I'll have. Yeah, I'll stay on. So Jaden gets extension. Georgia, please go ahead. You can unmute your microphone, Georgia.
Hello, sorry, I
Hi.
didn't know how to do it. So we're still allowed to turn in the week 3 discussion post, just we can use this as our one for
Your extension.
the approved extension.
Yep.
Okay. Can I also do that, please?
Yep, I've got you down. So Jaden and Jordan, Jaden and Georgia are getting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good. Or Jaden, Georgia. Okay, Harshika, go ahead. Harshika, your hand is up. Your digital hand is up. Go ahead. Okay, I guess it was a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to stay for a couple of minutes for Ryan. And I think we can conclude. It's 3:41 p.m. And so thank you all for being patient with the online format today. I will be back next week in person. And we're going to look at, I'm not sure what yet, but it will be one of the topics. We might look at Together on Earth, the idea of the future of human freedom and democracy. We'll see. But anybody have anything they'd like to say before we all sign off? I save the live chat. Make sure.
Oh, wait, can you hear me still?
Yep.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna say, so this, what we're typing into the chat and posting, is this for week 4 or week 3?
4.
This is for
No, week 4.
This is for week 4, right?
And I haven't posted the discussion board for yet. I don't think I have for this class. If it is posted, discussion board 4, go ahead and post it. If not, the board will be up in a couple of hours. But yes, this is discussion post 4, Angelique, that you would be doing.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So let me save the live chat and have a great week, everybody. You know where to reach me, okay? Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Let me see the chat. Nice. Harshika is today's participant. Harshika, week 4. Today is discussion post 4, okay? That's the answer to your question. Yeah, good. You got it. All right. Yeah. You brush. Rohan. Nice. Okay. Ryan wants to talk. I am pretty sure Revelation.
You know it.
I know it, and it's going to be a great chat. Okay, so 2 minutes. Unfortunately, we'll talk some more later. But
Yeah.
what? Go ahead, Ryan. Or hold on a second. For the others who are signed up, Elizabeth, is there anything you need? Rohan, are you good?
No, I was just here to listen to what Ryan had to say, if he doesn't mind.
No, good.
Wait, did I hear something about something happening Friday? What's happening on Friday?
Ryan, we should promote your show.
My show?
Ryan's show. Ryan, go ahead and tell.
Oh, you have a show?
Juan's coming on my radio show on Friday, so we're gonna talk about some interesting stuff from the Bible. We're gonna talk about Revelation. I just wanted to let you know that last week I made kind of like I guess what you might call a kind of like a learning aspect or brief summary of the important parts of Revelation that will be a lead up to the discussion episode that we're going to have on Friday. So it's just covering basically chapter 2 and 3 of Revelation and explaining. One of the things I mentioned is that basically what it talks about there, the 7 churches, parallels a lot of what it talks about in Hindu philosophy with their understanding of the chakras and the awakening to spiritual enlightenment and stuff that is necessary for what you might call the transformation of the self or ego dissolution, stuff like this. One of the things that I was telling the producers that we might try to draw the parallel to, and obviously if you have any ideas we can incorporate them, and we'll talk a little bit before the episode about it, is just the concept of ego death being a very theme that seems very evident within that structure or sequence of events. So like, Michael, representing the aspect of heaven, and the dragon being cast down representing how ego causes us to kind of, I guess, what's the word?
Informs your decisions.
Well, I was going to say it kind of lets you resonate with a much lower qualities than
lower vibrations.
Yeah, exactly.
They aren't good vibrations.
Lower vibrations.
So like all of the things that are very materialistic, as we talked about even today, right? With like technology and the perpetual need for advancement in society. So those are all driven by ego, right? And the story of Lucifer always says that he was so prideful, and that became the catalyst for his fall, right? Instead of recognizing these other beings, the humans, which his father created, right? And then Michael had to cast him down, or cast him into the bottomless pit. One of the things and parallels I drew with that is that one of the things we're learning from science now is that the body is now learning to hold on to these emotions that we've experienced through trauma and through emotional turbulence. And I feel like through spiritual enlightenment, kind of which I referred to a little bit in the last week's episode, those things are kind of brought to the surface so we can confront them through this aspect of awakening or enlightenment. And then of course, transforming the ego then becomes the next step to that, that comes on when we are awakened.
Okay, well, we'll continue. I have to go shortly, but is it fair for me to say as well that, of course, the apocalyptic thinking and the Armageddon-like thinking you get in Revelation,
the Armageddon, right?
Yeah.
The end of the world. Would it be fair to say that quite a lot of young people today, thinking and feeling young people, when they look at what's coming, they worry that things are sliding out of control, and they're hopeless about the future, and this is not depression talking. This is just the reality of the fractured world, and that may be why Revelation may resonate. Our discussion may resonate with some of the listeners because of this. This was the final book of, if I have to remember, and I'll be thinking about it, this was the final book of the New Testament, right? Revelation. This was the big, vision for humanity, and there's a lot of hope in it, but there's also a lot of
challenge.
Worry about where the hell is everything going. Yeah.
And even it talks about the horsemen, all these aspects of the apocalypse you mentioned.
Yeah. Sure.
And I feel like that is very, even with that aspect of consciousness and falling and all of these kind of things that are related to us hanging on to these things. It's gonna be a very interesting discussion, yes.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to make sure.
Ryan, that was my impression. There was a bit of that kind of point that you wanted to make, which is that things don't look good, and that perhaps that's what was being foreseen in the scriptures.
We can even relate to like some of the spiritual aspects of that too. Like Michael is always depicted as he was the first son, of all of the archangels, and he's always depicted as having the flaming sword of iron. And the thing is that it's always said in lore that demons and evil spirits are burned by iron. And also in the Quran, it says that jinn, their version of demons, are made from a smokeless flame of fire. So fire is pretty much the only thing that can kill fire or smite it, as they would say in terms of angels. I just wanted to make sure the main thing is that you had the chapters, right?
Yeah, no, I think I saw the text. There was a text, and I was gonna you sent it to me, so I'll be reviewing that tomorrow at some point. Okay, for sure. Thanks, Ryan.
We don't need to cover like 2 and 3. I put chapters 2 and 3 in the text message, but if you just want to include that in your reading, we don't necessarily have to talk as much about those because I covered that last week. But it's kind of a stepping stone to our discussion this week.
Okay, good. That's helpful. Okay, everybody. I'm going to save the live chat. It's so critical, and then I have to leave. Here it is. I've got it. So just a second, Arshdeep, and then export that, and then I have done. Great. Okay. Thanks, Angelique, Elizabeth, Ron. Take care of yourself. Brian, I'll see you on Friday. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
My computer.